And what we're going to do is we're going to go position group by position group and look at each of the guys inside these positions to get you ready for training camp, a kind of a primer, if you will, a preview of fall camp for these positions. And today I wanted to talk about maybe the position that has the most questions about it going into fall camp on the BYU offense, and that is the running back position for BYU. Now, the headliner of this position is Christopher Brooks. He's a graduate transfer coming in from the University of California, Berkeley. Had a very good career at Berkeley, rushed in 2 different seasons for the Bears for 607 yards this past year in 2021. That's his second best year during his time out there in Berkeley. But then in 2019, he actually almost had 1,000 yards that season with 914 yards. So this is a guy who has got a capability that I think is going to fit well into BYU's offense. Those 2 seasons I mentioned, he averaged 7.5 yards per carry in 2019, 6.9 yards this past season for the Golden Bears. So he's got great splits. That's the biggest thing I like about this. And I think that he will come in and he is fully expected to be the lead back for BYU this season. Now, obviously, his main job is going to be to carry the ball, but he's a guy who's also capable of catching the ball out of the backfield. That will also be a prerequisite for him during his time at BYU. Kind of funny thing about this is his 2 best seasons at Cal running the ball also coincided with his best seasons receiving the ball. He had 22 receptions for 166 yards and 4 touchdowns in 2019. And then in 2021, this past fall, 19 receptions for 131 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he is more than capable of contributing in both the rushing and passing game. And that is where I think he is going to stand out. 6'1", 235 pounds on BYU's roster. He's going to be an absolute load for opposing teams to take down. Teams that thought they were getting a break after seeing Tyler Algier a year ago run through, around, and over them, well, it sure seems like Christopher Brooks, should he stay healthy, will be a perfect replacement for a guy like Tyler Algier. Now, who will be flanking him at those positions? Well, that's a great question because you have Lopini Katoa back for what is 5th or 6th year of duty, and it's crazy to think he's still there. But this is a guy in his career who has rushed for over 1,000 yards in his career. I think he's somewhere close to 1,500 yards, or he will be by the end of this upcoming season. This past year kind of took a backseat to Tyler Algier, just 242 yards and 2 touchdowns, a 4.0 yard per carry average, actually the lowest yard per carry average of his career. Previous to that, he's averaged 5.3 yards per carry, 4.2 yards per carry, and 5.6 yards per carry, while getting a lot more carries in each of those seasons as well. He's gone 444 yards in 2020, 358 yards in 2019, and 423 yards all the way back in 2018. So the nice part about Lopini Katoa is his ability to contribute in multiple ways. He's a guy who we have seen split out at wide receiver at times during his career at BYU. He has had seasons in 2020 when he had 293 yards receiving, 2019, 288 yards. He's got 6 touchdowns for his career receiving. So I think those will be your 2 guys this year going to be leading the BYU running back position. But I know there's some of you probably saying, well, Jake, what about Miles Davis? He was kind of the darling of fall camp a year ago. And Miles Davis has overcome his injury concerns. We had him on this podcast talking about it during spring ball. He mentioned that he broke bones in both of his feet over the past year. If he is fully healthy, expect Miles Davis to really step in and probably play a bigger role as he moves forward here. The good news for a guy like Miles Davis, he's only a redshirt freshman. He saw action in 2 games this past year as a reserve. The expectation this year is he'll probably use this as more of his moving up the depth chart type year, where he maybe plays that 3rd running back role when called upon. But he will have competition from Jax McChesney. Jax McChesney, some people call him the hero of the USC game. He has had moments where he's been absolutely brilliant. Think of the Navy game where he came in and punched in a touchdown. He has the BYU freshman rushing record for that absolutely insane game out at UMass way back in, was it 2018, 2019? And he obviously came into that USC game last year and helped BYU lock up that win against the Trojans with a nice touchdown late. The biggest concern for a guy like Jax McChesney is every time he's had a kind of a breakout role, he has ended up getting injured at some point along the way. If he can stay healthy, he will be a guy that I think BYU will look forward to seeing what he can do as well. It's a similar thing with not Christopher Brooks, with Miles Davis. With those broken feet, you got to be very careful, make sure that his feet are feeling right. And at times during his career previous to last season, Lopini Katoa has had his own injury concerns. That's kind of the hallmark of the funny thing about this position group for BYU is that outside of Christopher Brooks, who's been fairly durable, it seems like, during his time at Cal, these running backs all have some sort of injury history or concern that you have to be careful with going into training camp. Other guys on this roster who will factor into this running back position include Mason Fakahua. He played in 9 games this past year as a redshirt sophomore, mainly on special teams. Also, Hinckley Ropati, a junior college transfer. He appeared in 5 games last year. Also a guy who played mainly special teams last year. Ropati was a guy, if you recall, I was in the 2020 season before Tyler Algier really emerged. He came in early from a junior college program in California after previously serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and was a guy that BYU fans were excited to see because he'd been very, very good at the junior college level, but then he ends up tearing his ACL the same week he gets to BYU. He's never really been a factor since then, but maybe this is the season he finally gets his chance. He's not the tallest back on the roster. List him at 5'10", and no offense to Hinckley Ropati, but if he's 5'10", I'm 6'4". Let's be real. Let's be real about this. 2 other names to pay attention to in this position group include Bo Robinson, member of the scout team a year ago, a freshman from Cache Valley, and another guy from Cache Valley who is a transfer from Utah State is Enoch Nawahine. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly. I believe I am. Nawahine, 6'1", 195-pound sophomore, former player at Kahuku High School in Hawaii out there on Oahu. And he is a guy that'll be looking to kind of earn his keep and make his way through this position group. But you've got a very, very strong stable of running backs just in terms of the overall number for BYU. But like I said, the biggest thing for all of these running backs not named Christopher Brooks is to prove that their injury concerns and or history are firmly in the past and they can be counted on for the Cougars going into the 2022 season. The nice part is there's a lot of youth in this group. So the nice part is if a guy like Christopher Brooks does take the position group by storm, ends up having that senior season, he looks forward to having a 1,000-yard season type deal to bell cow back. Outside of him and Lopini Katoa, there's a lot of relative youth in this position group that'll help lead BYU into the Big 12 next year. And that's a positive if you're a BYU fan. Looking forward to seeing those running backs get their opportunity.